lot of the Bridge community has the best interest at heart, but they're so far removed from what an elementary or middle school environment is nowadays.
Most of us, when we were in school or when our kids were in school, remember, and it's hard to believe it, but remember that was 40 years ago. Quite a different mindset during that time.
Yeah.
So that was the reason we wanted to go to the conferences, because that's a place that the teachers would go looking for something new, that we could approach them, that we could talk to them and listen to them.
So now they're getting all of this. You're expanding the kid's brain. You're teaching them resilience, right?
They're having a great time.
Right. You get to be the fun teacher where you're still teaching them math and strategy and
That's one thing that's come clear through with from the teachers. I send an email out every year at the end of the school year. Have you taught your class yet? Is there anything we can do? Did you need help? If you haven't taught, when are you're planning to teach soon? And every teacher that replies that has started a class, the kids loved it. I mean, that's not a question.
How many teachers did you have teaching last year?
I can tell you that that 55% of the teachers that registered with us in the 23-24 school year, which we only really had spring of 24, 55% of them have started classes, have run classes.
Okay.
I can tell you that over 26% of the schools from 24-25, and even this 25-26 school year, which remember we just finished, 17% have already started. We think as organizations, we think in a calendar year. Schools operate in a fall to spring calendar year. That's their calendar year. And most of the teachers already have their curriculum set at the first of the year for the remainder of the entire year. So those teachers that we had from 25-26, I'm surprised it was 17%. I would expect most of those teachers wouldn't be starting classes until fall. And that's proving about true. It's that lag that's just killing us, because, people say, oh, you have 790 something teachers, individual teachers that have signed up, and they've registered over 29,000 kids. Isn't that wonderful?
Wow. I think the last time you talked, it was like 20,000.
Yes.
So 29,000.
29,000. We're 29,531. 42 states. We're in 42 states.
True bridge player. Those are numbers. If a bridge player is watching this, which is going to be the most common person that's going to watch this, and they wanted to help you in some way, what are different ways that they could help?
We're actually running a campaign that we've just started for people to recognize that. And this is the idea. Who do you know? Do you know a school teacher? Do you know somebody on the school district board, education board? Do you know a recently retired principal or teacher? You know a school psychologist, a school counselor. Think about the connections you have.
Yeah.
Do you know somebody that's on a corporate board?
Yeah, a school counselor would probably know the kids that need an outlet that might not have found their outlet yet.
I'm desperately looking for some kind of corporate sponsor. We need to find somebody where this would be like a niche. I mean, think about it, guys. We have kids, we go everywhere, we're free, teachers can earn a stipend, and we're open to everyone. We should be able to find a corporate, we hit all the buttons, we should be able to find a corporate sponsor. I can. And of course, if you'd like to donate some money, that would be just fine. So we want to figure out a program, a way to help them, and to talk to them and make them realize you can teach bridge.
Yeah. And not even like our high-level USBF, but the lower-level USBF, that it behooved them to play bridge online with a client for $25 an hour, and because that is way better money than minimum wage would have been, which is the type of job
and they didn't have to leave their house.
Right. Yes. Yeah.
But
so it worked out well.
We want the kids growing up to come in, but we also need a new thing of teachers coming in. We had a lot of teachers retire after COVID, and a lot of teachers had been, maybe on the verge of retiring, and when COVID hit, it was just like, okay, I'm done. Our teachers' ages has gone up some as well. Our membership. So we need to find ways to interest younger people and younger players into getting involved in teaching. A lot of the kids that are playing at the NABCs, I think, are more interested in playing right now than they are in teaching right now.
I understand. I've played for 20 years and always knew I would probably be well suited to teach or direct if I wanted to, but I was way more interested in playing.
Well, who doesn't like to play?
I know.
I think a strong youth program is one of the things that we have to do. I understand clubs are hurting. I understand that they want more players and they are looking at the older players, but we need more people in the 50s and 60-year-old range. And all you club owners out there, I know you don't have you might not have a night game or something like that, but you are not going to we can't get the younger players if we don't offer some kind of night game. Or we talked about with people for Learn Bridge in a Day, they'll want to know when to schedule their classes for. And I said, well, you'll probably get a larger turnout on Saturday, but if you run it on a Saturday and have no weekend class or night class that those people can go, that's extra people you got in, then you've spun your wheels. You had an extra 20 or 30 or 40 people in, but they don't have anywhere to go. And I know this isn't all easy. I know you just can't just say, oh, this is going to happen. I know you don't have enough teachers to teach those classes. I just think we have to figure out a way to make it work. And I certainly don't have all the answers, and I don't own the club, so I don't know all the things they go through.
So the people that are going to watch this that might be interested in becoming a bridge teacher, and since I just started, I'm only I got my teacher accreditation earlier this year, but I'm really 5-6 weeks into teaching. What advice do you have for me?
Keep it simple.
Yep.
That's the biggest piece of advice. I had a conversation with someone about mentoring games one time, and I know we're talking about teaching, but this is kind of the same thing. And they were talking about that their members would go over the card with someone after the game and show them all the things they did wrong. And I said, well, really, what they should do is pick something, like they didn't finesse on this hand, this hand, this hand, this hand, and go over and
pick a concept
and say, okay, on this hand, and this hand, this was all the same thing, and if you get this right, it's really going to improve your game.
Yeah,
because
it's
they
too
can
much
grasp,
for somebody brand new.
You can't tell them a whole bunch of things.
You're not going to be psycho like me. I have a bridge book, and I have these books that have every single game that I have played for the last 4 or 5 years, kind of thing, and I go over with my partner after we're done playing. I usually re-look at the hands. Like when I'm here at a national, I'll look at them one more time by myself at night, and I'll make little notes. And then the next morning, I will just look at the lessons that I need to remember, so when that situation comes up again, I don't make the same judgment error. Because a lot of at the higher levels, it's that really thin.
Right. But you also have been playing for 10 years now?
20.
If they walk out of your class having learned whatever your main concept was for the class, mission accomplished. Yeah. If you give them too many things, they won't remember any of it.
Yeah.
And they'll feel stupid. So.
Yeah. Well, and that's my thing, is trying to have everybody have fun.
Yes.
And, and the quicker you make those mistakes, and the harder the mistake is, the more that you'll learn it. I've been teaching at that same place where I originally started to play, and I was like, okay, I remember when I learned how to do week 2s, and Keith, my husband, taught me how to play bridge, taught me how to do week 2s, and then I had 6 clubs, and I opened 2 clubs, and then Keith, and I was sitting right there, and I point, and and it makes them all kind of relax a little bit. And that's the thing, is we all start somewhere. We all started that first year of bridge going,
knowing
what?
Nothing.
Yeah, and big fall.
So that's what you have to remember, is that
don't overwhelm them.
Don't overwhelm them, because they'll freeze.
Make it fun.
Right.
I think it's important to make it fun.
Yeah, but they did come to learn.
Yeah.
Pick a concept or some 1 or 2 pieces that they need to know when they leave. Yeah. And they can do it, and then they feel like they accomplished something.
Right. I'm going to probably make 1,000 mistakes trying to teach the game. before I figure my own process out.
Well, you're going to develop your own style. Every teacher does. Every teacher has their own style and the things that work for them.
And that's the other thing that people should know too, is there's billions of people in the world. We need lots of teachers because different people are going to gravitate towards different teaching styles.
And different personalities. It's not even just the teaching style. You could be the best teacher in the world, but if your personality grates on a student, they're not going to continue on.
Well, okay. Well, thank you.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and thank you for everything that you've done for Bridge. And I will put, if it's YouTube, down and below, I'll make sure that you have links to contact Patty if you'd like to help jumpstart Bridge. So
we'd love to have you.
yeah.